What's good, everybody? It is Wednesday, February 8th. This is your daily sports betting brand of record. We call it the Early Edge. We are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all of sports betting. And it's not close. Super Bowl week continues today. And the one thing I'm going to tell EC, because we're giving him a huge opportunity later today, that maybe not play so many parlays. I'll have a discussion with him because pretty decent day otherwise. Alley hitting, the guru, solid on both of his plays, speculator. And who really thought LeBron James was going to score over 32.5 last night? Even he didn't. He scored 20 in the first half. Then it was going to be obvious if he didn't break the scoring record. So a tip of the cap to the king as he becomes the all-time leading scorer in the entire NBA. Today, as always, busy day here at the brand. Our brand new early wedge golf show. That's right, 3 p.m. Eastern time. How about the counselor going to be hosting today? EC making his debut on that show today. So you guys have made that our fastest growing specialty episode that we have all week. Let's continue to make that happen. Remember, it's YouTube only. No audio. YouTube only for the early wedge. Now, with all that being said, let's bring in the stars of the show because I got 3 of my absolute very best at my disposal today. You're not in Hawaii, Buckets. Do not do this. All right? And I'll deal with you last. First and foremost, he's never controversial. He always shows up ready to go live from Nashville, Tennessee, the penthouse level. M squared. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Coach. Never controversial is probably not the way I would describe everything, but I do like Buckets with his little Windy City move there. It must be windy there wherever he is.
And I will address that in a moment. But next, we had a great time last night. We went to a little poker room. The people were like, Maestro, Maestro, everywhere. It was crazy. Larry Hartstein, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Coach. Yeah, it was a lot of fun connecting with you and EC and playing a few cards, although I did get a little bit insulted at the table. I made a big bet on the river. The guy looks at me and he says, "You're of a certain age. I think you're an accountant. I'm folding." So that didn't feel good that he didn't think I was capable of bluffing the river.
And that still sits with you this morning in only the way the Maestro can. Just sitting in that crawl. All right, hang tight. Now, you heard Mikey already address it. It was embarrassing. I feel like he's become almost like a little brother to me. And to see you, Buckets, publicly say, I'm going to have a great time in the Windy City, but you're flying to New York City. What gives?
It's misleading because if you were in New York City, you know that it's been quite windy these past few days, Coach. So I still stand by the fact that this should possibly be the Windy City, but I am also willing to admit when I'm wrong. So I'm in the Big Apple is what I learned that it is called.
Oh, my God. All right. Hey, Buckets, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to dump out, dump back in. Your audio is a little crispy. So dump out and dump back in. I think it'll probably help. All right?
I think it's the wind, Coach, honestly.
I think it might be. Good Lord, Buckets. All right, let's get into it. Storylines could affect the betting lines today. And you know this has become unbelievably important. Let's start with the NBA injury report. Mikey, you're up first.
Yes, and we'll caution we're nearing the trade deadline, so be careful out there in the NBA streets. We'll start with the Washington Wizards. Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, both listed questionable. Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown and Robert Williams upgraded to probable. Looks like they are going to go. However, Marcus Smart remains out. For the Sixers, Joel Embiid, forever questionable on the injury report. We expect him to play. For the Spurs, Jeremy Sohan is still out. Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, both listed questionable. On the Toronto side, OG Anunoby remains out. For the Pacers, Chris Duarte, listed questionable, could free up some minutes in the backcourt there. They are playing the Miami Heat. Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, Duncan Robinson, all 3 of those guys remain out for them. For Houston, Garrison Matthews, listed questionable. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, second night of a back-to-back here, Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert, both listed questionable. Kyle Anderson did not play last night. Utah, Jared Vanderbilt, questionable once again. And then finally, the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, still out. However, Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris, both available to make their Mavericks debut.
And how about Kyrie Irving saying, I was disrespected in Brooklyn? What? But that was a direct quote from Kyrie Irving. All right, Buckets, talk to me. I want to hear you. Talk to me.
Testing. 1, 2,
That's
3,
what we're
4.
talking about. That's great. Put those headphones on. We're good to go. Now, Maestro, let me come to you because we were just now 5 days away from the Super Bowl. I wish it was here today. This is kind of the day that it starts to feel a little bit too long. You know, when you get closer, the 2 weeks feels long, but we're still here for it. But you have a particular storyline from the Super Bowl. Floor is yours.
Yeah, when you look at these prop markets and when you ingest all the information that's coming at you and talk to all the people that you respect, you start to see certain opinions. Like Alex was probably the first one on Miles Sanders over rushing at 54.5. That's up to 60.5. I haven't heard one person say, I want to fade Miles Sanders. Maybe they don't like the high number, but all the sharps agreed with Alex on that one. And then Isaiah Pacheco receiving yards, 12.5 up to 16.5. People might say it's too high now, but there was kind of a consensus among the industry that was a play to be on. But there's been a real split on a guy, Quez Watkins. So there's some people who think this guy with no catches, one target in the postseason, that his 1.5 catches look sky high, and you have to go under that. And then there's another section that says, oh my God, 12.5 receiving yards for a guy with 4.35 speed, a guy who has 2 50-yard catches, a 30-yard catch, a guy who can get deep, and also a game script that may not be like the first 2 playoff games where they have to throw a lot. So Quez Watkins would be the number 3 receiver and get a lot of action and maybe 2 catches and maybe, a 70-yard bomb. So there's a real dichotomy on Quez Watkins. I think the most interesting thing is that when Dallas Goedert is in the lineup, as he is, and as he has a great matchup against the Chiefs, Quez Watkins almost disappears. 2 catches, 1 target is what he averages when Goedert is on the field. When Goedert's off the field, 5 targets and 3.5 catches. So that's the way I would lean on Quez. But the yardage, 12.5, he can go under his catch prop at 1.5 and still sail way over his yardage prop because he is the deep threat. The other thing to note about this is Pascal, the other number 3 receiver, is basically on equal footing now with Quez Watkins. They like him more as a run blocker than they do Quez Watkins. So it'll be interesting to see. But that's one of the guys that I've seen a real clash of minds this week.
Well, we're going to have a clash of minds on Sunday for our mega daily preview. And make sure you follow all of us on social media, but also SportsLine on social media. We'll give you the start time. We'll give you who's going to be on the show, what we're going to talk about. But we've been doing it for 3 years now, and we're not going to change this Sunday right before the Super Bowl. Maestro, Mikey, thank you very much. By the way, in the chat, they're saying, is buckets on the trading block? Is that what Mikey meant? It just might be. It just might be. Because right now, he's like Kyrie Irving, very valuable, but very – all right. Now, before I get to our board today, and it is big, and we have more best bets on early edge in 5. And don't, Kyle, I read you in the chat. I'll tell EC, just give out the money lines, and then you guys compare them how you want. I love that idea. Love that idea. But before we get to that, we got to pay those pesky little bills. Here's a word from one of our incredible partners.
Golf's top stars and one of the most electric atmospheres on the PGA Tour, the WM Phoenix Open, this weekend on CBS.
Jeffrey asked a very important question, Buckets. But what could you really get for him in the trading world? That's a very, very interesting question. But we're going to start with Buckets because I feel like in New York City, he's going to be solid. But before we do Buckets, we have one play from SportsLine. And if you're not a SportsLine member, what are you doing? But I'm going to do you a solid right here, right now on Super Bowl week. Use the promo code early, and I'll give you 30 days for free. All my cappers, all my simulations, all the numbers. You get everything for this many dollars. Then after 30 days, you're playing with house money. So today, we're going to go Alabama over Florida, -9. They play a great, fun style. This pick from Mad Max and the Thunderdome. He is a savage in the world of college basketball. They play fast. They're great at home. They're perfect at home. Florida, not so much on the road. Let's lay the 9 and watch Alabama score 80, 90 points and sail over this. All right, Buckets, I got to be honest with you. My head is upside down. Yesterday, I did all the research on my own because you were nowhere to be found. And then I read all this information on the Frankfurt game. Oh, it's the under. These two teams don't score. It was 2.5. And then Grimsby, some team named Grimsby. Oh, they can't score against Luton. They're up 3-0 at half. What is going on in the world of soccer? Make it right. What do you have this morning?
Coach, as we know, these cup games can be absolutely insane, and it is incredibly hard to find consistency in any cup games. However, we're still going to bet a cup game this afternoon because we are looking at the round of 16 between VfL Bochum and Borussia Dortmund. When you're trying to find consistency in the cup games, the thing that you can do is find teams that actually care about the cup games. Bochum and Dortmund both are out of the race to win the Bundesliga and do not have serious major European competitions to worry about. So these teams will be looking to get any piece of silverware at this point, which means they're going to fight this afternoon at 2:45 Eastern. I love the BTTS look and I love the overlook, but they're too juiced by themselves to seriously play. So put those two together, BTTS and over 2.5 goals, currently sitting at minus 125. Bochum, in their last 2 games, have had 12 goals. Dortmund have hit over 2.5 goals and BTTS in 5 of their last 6. These are 2 very, very good attacking teams that will be desperate to advance. Even though it is a cup game, I promise you they will care this afternoon.
Buckets, I had no idea your best friend Thunder40 was in the chat this morning. And they said, y'all need to cut Buckets a break. He's the only reason soccer is even an option for me. Hashtag Buckethead.
My boy Thunder.
Your boy Thunder from down under. All right. So Buckets is it. Little BTTS. That's what the cool kids say. Over 2.5. Now, Mikey, let me come to you. Because ever since you started telling the chat, check out my simulations the night before, you can beat the number. People have been loving it. Absolutely loving it. So what do we have today?
Yeah, we've got a few plays up there today. If you look at the simulations today, by the way, they are sorted on a day that's more manageable like this. They are sorted. I played the top 5 games there. There are 4 overs and 1 under listed there, but my favorite one here is going to be Belmont. Belmont is a team we've been cashing with quite a bit on the early edge, mostly on Saturdays when they play those games, but we're going over the total here. I went over 136. The number is closer to 136.5, 137 now. I would play it up to 138 when it would still fall within my threshold. But as far as these teams here, look, they're not good defensively. They rank 147th and 200th in terms of defensive rating in college basketball here. We've got a decent contrast in terms of style of play. The Missouri State side, they like to play a little more slow, grinded out game. Meanwhile, Belmont likes to get out and run and score in transition. However, if you watch Missouri State, they've been willing to play with teams that like to run as well. This game with a spread of minus 1.5, it's going to be ultra competitive here. We've got a nice little run with both of these teams going over in each of their last 3 games. Very, very manageable total here as Belmont is routinely scoring mid-80s or allowing 80-plus points. And then on the other side, Missouri State, they've been allowing a ton of points in their last few games here as well. So I like the over 136, 137, play it up to 138.
James in the chat says, I sense a Belmont overplay coming. Oh, must be a SportsLine member. Must be somebody that could see the simulations last night. Hashtag, it pays to be a member, and hashtag, it pays to watch live. Mikey, thank you very much. Now, you talk about college basketball. I wish all of you could be privy to the set where we're doing CBS Sports HQ every day, multiple times a day. Hopefully you've seen me and the Maestro there. But the discussions that we have with all the experts around the set, it is priceless. So, Maestro, after all the last 24 hours, what are you settling on this morning?
I am settling on the Mountain West and Utah State at home, where they are 11-1, hosting San Diego State. We just saw San Diego State go to Nevada and lose. That was a payback spot. This is a payback spot for the Aggies, who lost by 10 at San Diego State. You know, they shoot the 3 better than any team in the country. Talking about the Aggies, they made 18 threes last game. They shoot 40% for the season, but at home, over 43%. Basically, everyone on the team can shoot threes, and they shoot them much better at home. I know San Diego State is a great lockdown defensive team, but yes, they have lost their last 3 visits to Logan, Utah. The place is going to be rocking. And here's a stat from Josh Applebaum that I really found interesting. Unranked teams playing at home as a favorite over a ranked team, which San Diego State is ranked, 23-10 against the number. We've seen it time and time again this year where the unranked team is favored at home and they cash a ticket.
Yeah, it seems to be happening all the time. So the sports books are starting to really catch on, I think. Maestro, thank you very much. Now we have an opportunity in the chat. Paul has a great trivia question for my man Buckets. If you want to participate, $100 cold hard cash. Just asked our last winner a few days ago. But you got to write hashtag Buckethead into the chat right here, right now. So, Buckets, are you ready for trivia?
I'm ready.
All right. Paul has the question from the chat. And Mikey's going to give us the answer. But not before you guess. Buckets, do you know what city Belmont University is in?
Can I get a hint or like phone a friend or something?
Yeah, you can ask Mikey one question.
Mikey, what city is Belmont in?
Well, we'll talk about weather because you seem to be into wind. We are forecasting for some really high winds later this evening in whichever city that is.
Is it Chicago?
It is not.
I thought I was going to redeem myself there.
You have been to the city, though. You've been there before.
Is it Maestro?
Where is SportsLine headquartered at? You're a part of the team. You're a part of the crew. You're a part of us. And you don't know that? You don't know that? Hashtag embarrassing. Hashtag embarrassing. I'll give you one last chance, Buckets, because you're not going to know where Missouri State is. You'll never know that one. But can you tell me where the University of Missouri is?
I'm either going to sound really dumb here or really. Is it just Missouri?
Did he just guess that the University of Missouri is in Missouri? Is that what he just guessed? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Buckets, just dump out. Just dump out. I cannot take this. You just guessed that the University of Missouri was in Missouri. I apologize to everybody who just participated in the chat. Thank you, Kevin. It's Columbia.
The crazy thing is that he lives in our nation's heartland, yet he seems totally unfamiliar with the heartland.
Yeah. Thank you, Maestro. That's exactly what I was thinking. He seems unfamiliar with the heartland, yet he lives in the heartland. I don't even know what to say. Mikey, we gave him everything. What do I always say? You can only lead the horse to water, but you can't help him drink. All right. Grab your paper. Grab your pencil. Here is the recap. Remember, this is just first of 2 shows today. Then at 3 p.m. Eastern time, don't forget about the Early Wedge, our brand new golf show that's been exploding. The Counselor C is going to be hosting today. Can't wait to watch that. M Squared Belmont, Missouri State over 136. Then Buckets, Dortmund. Both teams to score over 2.5. It's a great way to bring the number down because you need that third goal to cash. That's why you get it at a better number for those of you brand new to soccer betting. Then the Maestro, 1 play from college basketball today. Utah State -1.5. Then also from college basketball, from SportsLine itself, the simulations, Alabama -9. This play from Mad Max and the Thunderdome. Buckets is getting crushed in the chat. As well he should. And don't worry. I will handle it after the show. I will. But that was kind of entertaining. You got to admit that. But with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight. I actually do have a pay window right over there for my entire crew. Oh, I love them all. Maestro, M Squared, even Buckets. And, of course, the snake on the 1s and the 2s. It's a fun way to start the morning. But now you got to pay it forward. Now we got to cash some tickets. There's only one place. Let's have a day here at the Early Edge. Good luck.